The Seattle Storm lost to the Indiana Fever 105-95 Tuesday night, but the ugliest loss for the organization may have happened away from the basketball court. A Seattle Storm minority owner is accused of walking up to two young Sophie Cunningham supporters, allegedly screaming at them, cursing at them, and calling them insane because they were holding signs thanking Sophie for speaking up for girls. Multiple reports have described the supporters as teenagers, with one reportedly just 16 years old, and according to their account, the confrontation left one of them in tears. Let me be clear at the beginning. There is no public video of the actual confrontation. We have the supporters' recorded account afterward, witness reporting, and an official apology from Seattle's majority owner, acknowledging that a co-owner made comments. Celeste Keaton has reportedly been suspended from attending the Storm's next 5 home games following the confrontation. That is an acknowledgement that something serious allegedly happened, but is prohibiting an owner from attending 5 games really sufficient punishment? Does the punishment include a fine? Is Keaton still allowed to participate in team business and ownership decisions? And will the WNBA conduct a real investigation? Today we're breaking down the alleged confrontation, the competing demonstrations over transgender participation in women's sports, the Caitlin Clark question that was never asked, and why this 5-game penalty should be the beginning of the WNBA's response, not necessarily the end. The WNBA needs to investigate this immediately. Find this owner and suspend her from being in the building, not just from home games. Suspend her from the building, the facilities, league activities. Because if the WNBA's rules apply to players, coaches, and paying customers, they absolutely must apply to people who own the teams. So here we have an interview with the two young women who were verbally accosted by Keaton, the co-owner, minority owner of the Seattle Storm. Take a listen.
Well, we were just sitting there with our signs that said, like, we love Sophie, like, thank you, Sophie, for speaking up. And so we were holding them, just watching the game. Again, like, we were being super great. We hadn't said anything to anyone else. We were being super respectful. We were just holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this lady, older lady, comes up to us. And she comes up to us, and at first I think she's going to be nice. And then she asks, like, what are you guys doing? Or something like that. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was like, oh, I know. Like, I'm religious. Like, I know. Like, I know.
Nice.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I hope Jesus can forgive you for what sin you've done. And, like, something like that. And then she told us that we were effing insane. And that we
and she's like, and she went like
yes.
insane.
Yeah.
She's like, you better stop this.
And stop pulling
shit.
this. Yeah.
And
for you guys
I
to
hope
come
God
here
can
and
save
pull
you.
This. Yeah.
She said, for you to come here and pull this shit.
Yeah.
She said the word?
Yeah.
Did she say effing insane or the fucking
No,
insane?
she said the word. Yeah.
And nobody around you spoke up for you.
No.
So,
No.
I will say, Annalie, when I came over, you were in tears.
Yeah, I've never been yelled at like that. I mean, I've had people hate on me on the internet, but like it doesn't really affect me as much because it's just people online. But that just took me by surprise because I thought she was gonna be nice, and then she starts like screaming at us and cussing at us. So yeah.
And so you said she walked away, and we thought that was kind of it. But she mentioned something to you about like working for the team, or
there was another lady that like told us like we were able to have our opinions, but we needed to not be political about it. And I tried to explain to her I wasn't trying to be political. I was just trying to support Sophie and support the other teams.
And you
too.
were just sitting there watching.
Yeah, we hadn't interacted with anyone
sides.
except for like saying excuse me.
Yeah.
Like we were really nice and stuff. And then this lady told us like, oh, do you know who that is? And we were like, no.
So what was your reaction when I texted you that is the owner of the team?
It's just sad. We were like, what? Yeah, we were shocked. Yeah, it's disappointing though too, because she's also a woman and she just kind of cussed out two 16-year-olds that were just trying to have fun. We weren't trying to be political. We were just trying to support Sophie, which I guess maybe that. Oh, well.
Yeah. And so overall, because I know that wasn't the only person who was like giving you a hard time, kind of.
There was more.
I mean, did you feel like they've got their no hate signs up and? Did you feel welcome?
No, the whole time we were kind of on edge. I was like, should we pull our sign out? I don't know.
Yeah.
And the lady was sitting right across from us, and the two people on the side of us were like turning their back and trying to sit as far away from us.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they did not.
Because one of them, when you sat down, did you notice that they had a no hate in these United States?
I didn't notice it till after she had said something like, Sophie's not actually speaking up for girls, which who else would she is? But anyways.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeez, man. Folks, God, this is bad. This is bad. Before we continue, let's really think about this for a second logically. This is a league or a league or a team or whatever that says we want everyone to feel included here. The co-owner of this team made these two young 16-year-old kids feel completely unwanted in that building. That's what the co-owner of this franchise did to two 16-year-old girls. I doubt those two young girls will ever go to a Seattle Storm game again. Ever. Ever. They were sitting courtside. I wonder how much those tickets even cost. But a league that talks about no hate, they're supporting Sophie Cunningham. Who are they hating? Who exactly are they hating? No one. They support girls playing against girls. This is nuts. So before the Indiana Fever Seattle Storm game at Climate Pledge Arena, a small group of demonstrators gathered outside in support of Sophie Cunningham's position on transgender participation in girls and women's sports. Other demonstrators opposing that position were also present. The pro-Cunningham group was additionally promoting Washington Initiative 638 and 011 proposals intended to prevent transgender students from competing in girls' school athletics. A correction, it's actually transgender females. So people that were boys who decided to become girls. It does not prohibit transgendered boys, so girls who decided they want to compete against boys. There is a huge difference. It is actually keeping the playing field level for girls in girls' sports. The Indiana Fever organization later said neither the organization nor Sophie had advanced knowledge of the demonstration or contact with its organizers. Inside the arena, Seattle Center Stephanie Dolson wore a t-shirt reading "Trans rights are human rights." Come on, people. Somebody should give Stephanie Dolson a little bit of an education, because Stephanie Dolson would be without a job if she would be without a job if they allow transgendered girls to play in women's basketball in the WNBA. They'd be out of a job. All these women would be out of jobs. Because you'd start having guys just say, I'm a transgender and I'm going to play professional basketball and I'm going to dominate. That is what would happen. Storm fans booed Sophie Cunningham when she entered the game, while supporters displayed signs thanking Sophie for speaking up. Here's my position. Everybody involved had a right to express an opinion. Absolutely. Dolson had every right to wear her shirt. She did, even though it's very misguided. Because no one has ever argued that trans rights are not human rights. Trans rights are human rights. But playing sports is not a right. Playing sports against the opposite sex when you're a boy and transition to a girl is not a right. It just isn't. Counter-protesters had every right to carry their signs. Sophie Cunningham's supporters also had every right to peacefully hold signs, and reportedly said, "We love you, Sophie, and thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." What nobody had the right to do, especially a person wielding the power of team ownership, was allegedly intimidate, which we now know is not alleged, and verbally abuse teenage customers because she disagreed with their viewpoint. That crosses an entirely different line. Thankfully, political commentator Brandy Cruz interviewed the two young women following the game, which we've showed you before. So what ends up happening is Seattle Storm majority owner Ginny Gilder subsequently issued an apology. She acknowledged that a co-owner made comments to two fans and said the Storm regretted the incident. She also said every fan deserves to feel welcome and be treated respectfully. Well, Miss Gilder, you might want to have a conversation with your minority owner, or I don't know, buy her shares out, because she has no business as an owner in a professional sport. The same way other owners have been suspended in the past or kicked out of the league for their mouths, your co-minority owner should be thrown out of this league. The statement matters, but notice what's missing. There has been no public apology reported from Keaton. No announced fine. There has been a suspension for 5 home games by the team. Who cares? There's no explanation of what has been said or what was said, and no indication that the WNBA has opened an independent investigation, because we know the WNBA investigates anything and everything involving one Caitlin Clark whenever an Indiana Fever fan is involved. The majority owner's statements sound like the organization knows a boundary was crossed. Now accountability needs to follow. The WNBA official fan code of conduct says guests must be treated in a professional and courteous manner by arena and team personnel. It also promises an experience free from foul or abusive language. If a paying fan allegedly behaved this way, security could and would remove that person from the building and potentially ban them from future games. So what happens when the accused person is an owner? Does ownership create immunity? Does an owner get to enforce one standard on fans while ignoring that standard personally? The league markets itself using words like inclusion, respect, safety, and empowerment. Those values can not only protect people whose politics align with the organization. Real inclusion means a peaceful fan can disagree with you without being personally humiliated, cursed at, or reduced to tears. And the power imbalance makes this worse. This was not an argument between two equal spectators. This allegedly involved an adult owner confronting young fans inside the arena controlled by her organization. An owner has access, status, security personnel, and institutional power. A 16-year-old sitting courtside has none of those advantages. Imagine if an ordinary fan had allegedly approached 2 teenage girls, screamed profanity at them, and left one of them crying. Would security have allowed that fan to remain courtside? Probably not. Would that person simply be told not to attend 5 future games? Or would the arena revoke the person's privileges, investigate the incident, and potentially impose a longer ban? An owner should not receive a weaker standard because of her position. If anything, owners should be held to a higher standard because they help establish the organization's culture and have far more power than an ordinary ticket holder. The 5-game suspension is a start, but the WNBA still needs to determine what happened and whether the penalty matches the conduct. Imagine also if the situation was in reverse and these 2 young women walked up to this minority owner of this team and did to that minority owner what she did to them. They would be immediately thrown out of the building. There would not be a pass go for $200. There would be no apologies. It would be, get out of my building, remove them now, and you're never welcome back in here again. This woman looks to be about 70 or so. looks like a miserable old hag. Seriously. Miserable. But let's continue. The controversy continued after Indiana's victory. Caitlin Clark led the Fever with 32 points and 7 assists, but she was not made available during the postgame press conference. Sophie Cunningham was also unavailable. Reporter Roberto Rodriguez said Clark had originally been listed for the press conference but was replaced by Kelsey Mitchell. Rodriguez later posted the question she wanted to ask Clark: "Do you believe that trans women belong in sports?" Triggering question, huh? Clearly a setup. She wants to make Caitlin Clark look bad. She wants to make Caitlin Clark put her on the spot. Because Caitlin Clark is the most polarizing figure in professional sports right now. You either love her or you hate her, but you damn sure watch her. And the people that hate her want to make her look bad, including a fugazi reporter like Roberta Rodriguez. This is the reporter's exact posted wording. It was not specifically, should transgender women compete in women's sports? That distinction matters because do trans women belong in sports is broader, vague, and structured like an ideological loyalty test. Think about it. Someone could believe transgender people unquestionably belong in sports while still supporting eligibility restrictions in particular competitive categories. Rodriguez was entitled to ask a question. Caitlin Clark also would have been entitled to answer it, clarify it, or decline to turn a post-game basketball press conference into a political interrogation. When Stephanie White and the available Fever players were asked about the demonstration, a team public relations rep stepped in and reiterated that the Fever and Cunningham had no advanced knowledge or involvement. Was Indiana trying to shield Clark and Cunningham from a culture war press conference? Probably, as they should. That's their job, to protect their players. But the bigger story is that while reporters were preparing to demand political answers from Caitlin Clark, which is an example of what she just told Malika Andrews has her exhausted day after day after day after day, the most serious allegation from inside that arena involved a person in Seattle's ownership group allegedly berating teenage fans. The allegation cannot get buried underneath another manufactured Caitlin Clark controversy, because that's what they do. They manufacture stuff to make Caitlin Clark look bad. Here is exactly what the WNBA should do. Number one, launch an independent investigation immediately. Secure Climate Pledge Arena surveillance footage, interview both supporters, nearby fans, arena employees, security personnel, Brandy Cruz, and Celeste Keaton. Determine precisely what was said and how the security complaint was handled. Secondly, remove Keaton from the team and league activities while the investigation is pending. That means no courtside seats, no locker room access, no team facilities, and no involvement in the league governance until the facts are established. Moreover, determine whether the 5-game home suspension, attendance suspension is sufficient. It's not. If the allegations are substantiated, which they seem to have already been, the WNBA, not the Seattle Storm, let me be very, very clear, the WNBA, because in Seattle, they don't punish crime there. They let crazy people run amok in that damn city. If you've ever paid attention to what's been going on in Seattle, that is as left-wing liberal a place as it gets. They allow people to take over 6 to 10 city blocks. I mean, my goodness, and take over a police station and nothing done to anybody. That city is a cesspool of shit. Pardon my French. Trying to avoid cursing. But again, if the allegations are substantial, which they have been, the WNBA should consider a substantial fine and broader suspension covering official team activities, not merely Keaton's presence inside the arena. She should be suspended for the remainder of the 2026 season and issue at least a substantial personal fine from her own pocketbook, not from team coffers, of at least $100,000. That money should be directed toward youth sportsmanship, which she clearly does not have, and anti-bullying programs for which she is a massive bully. Continuing, require a direct apology to the two teenagers by Keaton herself in person on television for everyone to see. Make the old hag grovel, embarrass her, publicly humiliate her for the piece of garbage that she is. The Storm should also offer refunds and review why security reportedly directed witnesses to email the front office instead of addressing the alleged conduct immediately. Goodness gracious. And then, of course, create a transparent owner and executive conduct policy. Fans should know that abusive behavior will receive a consistent response, whether it comes from a spectator, player, executive, or team owner. The WNBA cannot tell fans to report abusive behavior to security and then allegedly respond by telling them to send an email after the game. And before anybody claims the league cannot suspend an owner, history says otherwise. The NBA suspended Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury owner Robert Sarver for 1 year, barred him from NBA and WNBA facilities and activities, and fined him $10 million after an independent investigation. The allegations against Sarver were broader and much more extensive, so I'm not equating the two cases. The precedent simply proves that ownership status does not prevent a professional basketball league from imposing meaningful discipline. Heck, if you know baseball, George Steinbrenner was suspended for multiple years by Major League Baseball. Okay? That goes back into the 90s. This controversy is no longer simply about Sophie Cunningham, transgender eligibility rules, or political demonstrations. It's about whether the WNBA believes the shit it sells. Whether they believe their own stated standards apply equally to everyone. You cannot market no space for hate and then excuse an owner allegedly cursing at teenage fans for holding a sign. You cannot preach inclusion while tolerating intimidation against peaceful customers because their opinion is unpopular inside one particular arena. And you cannot discipline players and coaches for damaging the league's image while treating ownership as untouchable. Investigate it, release the findings, and if the allegations are substantiated, which they've already been, fine and suspend Celeste Keaton immediately for the remainder of this season. Because inclusion without tolerance for peaceful disagreement is not inclusion, it is branding. Let me know what you think. Should the WNBA suspend the Storm owner for the rest of the season? And was the Fever right to keep Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham out of that press conference? Like the video, subscribe, turn on the notifications, hype the video, leave your comments for more unfiltered WNBA news, controversy, and analysis. This is Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.